Cruise, and ISS news. Hello, this is Greg Allison of Galactic Gregs coming to you somewhere from an undisclosed location in the Milky Way galaxy. This is an exciting month for the International Space Station, for Space Station news in general, and we've had a lot of things going on in the past month too. So what I'm going to do here today is bring you up to speed on several things. So we're going to talk about the leak they just had on the International Space Station. We're going to talk about the space station just had to do maneuver to dodge orbital debris. We're going to talk about challenges as seen by NASA Administrator Jim Bridenstine from China, with China's new being developed Chinese International Space Station. We're going to talk about the new upcoming mission of Tom Cruise to crew the ISS, to shoot a movie there. And we're going to talk about the upcoming launches this month. There's 3 of them, a cargo launch and 2 crew launches. Well, I say this month, in October. I'm coming to you from the 30th of September in the wee hours of the morning, to be posted later today. So, if you've not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and bang the update notification bell so you get updates from my videos when I post them. I'm hoping to be posting a little bit more frequently than I had been. There's a lot of material to cover, and man, I'm a busy puppy, so it's just hard to get to this because I do have a day job. I do have another YouTube channel, Green Gregs, and a commercial worm farm, market garden, and several other things. And oh yeah, I got a day job. I work in the daytime as a contractor, as some of you might know, for NASA. But I do not speak for them. I am just a contractor, therefore. I speak solely here for Greg Allison. So let's make that clear at the outset of this video. Okay, let's get into it, and let's share and look at some charts here. As you know, us engineers love nothing better than view charts and PowerPoint, right? we are renowned for that. Cruise, and ISS news. Wow, isn't that a heck of a picture there? So let's get to it here. Bam. There we are. So now they have located the elusive leak on the space station. And they found it, well, they've almost located it. What they have found is it is in the Zvezda module on the Russian side of the space station. It just so happens they've actually not found the exact location of this leak. Now, what happened is on Monday night, the ground crew from NASA called the astronauts Chris Cassidy and cosmonauts Anatoly, and Tali Ivan, I can't even talk, Ivanishkin and Ivan Wagner. Excuse me, my Russian, although I've been to Moscow, my Russian is about as rusty as my shirt here. So bear with me. It's been 10 years since I've been there. Okay, so what they had is there was a small leak that's been on the ISS. It's been there since last year, over a year now, from September of last year. And suddenly it grown a bit more in August, and then suddenly it grew quite a bit more, even though not to the point of endangering the crew, but the rate of leak had increased fairly considerably, and it got the ground crew a bit concerned. So they determined they wanted to wake the crew up Monday night so they could do what they needed to do to find it. Essentially, shut all the hatches, and they'd already isolated it down to a couple of the Russian modules on the Russian side. So what they decided to do is go in there and shut the hatches, especially the Zvezda module, and they used ultrasonic sensors to try to detect the leak, ultrasonic leak detectors, that is. And they ran data throughout the whole night trying to trace this down, and they did isolate it to this Zvezda module, and that's what they've done, but they've not found exactly where in this module this leak is. Now, see, it is on this Russian side here. This is the Russian side of the ISS. This is the American side, sans, which I mean without the truss, which runs across here, the truss section of the ISS. So, as you can see, this side does name the Zvezda module. Of course, over here, this is actually the first module launched, the Zarya module, the very first module launched to this International Space Station. I'm going to show you a little bit on that here in a second. Anyway, what we know about the that's the very first module launch. That is Zarya, which was launched on 20th of November 1998. It was uncrewed. It was launched 2 years before anything else was launched. That was the first space station launch, and the space station Mir was still up. NASA actually paid the Russians to chunk Mir so they would get more commitment on this program. So the next module launch again was this Zvezda module right here. And you might note, it looks a whole lot like the Soyuz 6, Soyuz 7, and Mir space station cores because, well, that is essentially what it is. Of course, in Mir, they had this multiple docking adapter here. To enable, and it could also dock Soyuz here, so they could add modules, and Mir had modules sticking out on these sides. You remember one of them had quite a leak due to a collision with a Progress resupply module back in the days, and we actually had an American astronaut on board when that happened. So some of you may remember the excitement of those days and the leak, and they had a fire on board Mir. It was quite an interesting time. Fortunately, the drama on Zvezda hasn't been so high, but we do have a leak there. Although this thing has been there now for over 20 years. That is the cool thing about the Zvezda module. It was launched in 20 years ago. Now, the cool thing here to know is that Zvezda provides over half of the ISS breathing oxygen, the O2, and provides a half of the drinking water for the space station. It has sleeping quarters for the cosmonauts. They do sleep on this Russian side here. Again, go back here. You can see this is the Russian side of the International Space Station, which the United States paid a good bit for. And these are the crew members that are up there right now. Cassidy, Ivanishin, and Wagner. Pardon me again for murdering the middle names. He's a big guy. He might beat me up for that. Anyway, yeah, I assume they're all nice guys. Anyway, so, hey, I like my trip to Moscow, by the way. I really enjoyed the city. It's also got a dining room. It's got a refrigerator, a freezer, and a bathroom. Essentially, this is a standalone space station right here. This module here can operate standalone. And you see here they show other modules linked in here. So what we need to know here is that ISS is always leaked, excuse me. But this leak was discovered in September 2019. And they started testing for it really more earnestly this August as the leak rate picked up. Now, when they got into this final round of testing or got down to it, NASA and Roscosmos were very hesitant at first to seal off the Zvezda module because the Soyuz is docked to it on the back side. You know, that's your egress, your emergency egress, if you have to be able to get away from the space station. It's a very important requirement to make that getaway. Well, in some of the recent analysis that just came out this morning, NASA did announce that they believe that it may have been a temperature change that induced a sudden change in leak rate because it seems to have calmed down a little bit. But guys, you know, this could always progress into a real problem. You know, this is very important for the Russian side of what goes on in our International Space Station. Our elements could pretty much make it on their own, but, you know, reboost and things like that were originally handled by Zarya, which was the functional block, initial functional block of the ISS. So these are important things to know. And again, Zvezda was launched on the 20th of November, 1990. Oh, excuse me, Zarya was launched on 20 November 1998. Zvezda was launched on 12 July 2000. 12 July 2000. That's when we got this part, 12 July 2000. And these photographs were taken for various missions to the Space Shuttle. So these are NASA photographs of the Russian modules, by the way. And the Soyuz spacecraft here, which would actually fit in the cargo bay of the Space Shuttle. Sans, of course, the solar power modules out here. But see, these aren't the only leaks we've had on the International Space Station. Oh, yeah, we've had other leaks. In fact, it just so happened there was these little 2mm drill holes that were found in a Soyuz module back in August of 2018. They were fixed with some epoxy, but now they noticed they had these leaks and they had to hunt them down. I think these probably actually made a pretty good sound. But you can see here where somebody took a drill and the drill skittered as they were, you know, if you've ever done any drilling on a hard surface, if you're not really adept at it, you're going to have the drill skittering around. So somebody was there trying to drill a hole to the outside from the module that they require to return to Earth. I mean, this is nearly suicidal. You know, this is why psychology in space is of paramount importance to psychologically screen the crew members. And they do go through a lot of screening. You know, you're basically getting cabin fever up there for almost a year, for many months on end. You can't see a lot, and you're trapped in with the same people all the time, and you may develop animosities. So you got to have a unique capacity to get along with other people, especially when the crews are international from different places. You got different cultures. There's a lot of challenges for people to be able to get along in such close quarters for such a long time. And who knows, the person might have had something else going on. We don't not know to this day who drilled that hole. But that is a frightening prospect, that you might have somebody up there who could really do damage to and cause the death to lots of people. This is a multi-billion-dollar facility. This is why, you know, we think of space as from the engineering standpoint, but the psychology, the psychological screening of astronauts, the psychological preparations is paramount, very important. So just something to know. But now, hey, ISS just had to do a maneuver. ISS had to avoid debris. It was almost hit by some debris. So what happened is this debris should have been missed by a few miles, but out of an abundance of caution, NASA did decide to maneuver the ISS to avoid it. Now, ISS orbits at 260 miles in altitude at a speed of 17,130 miles per hour. You got to go over 17,000 miles per hour just to achieve orbit. Now, it turns out that this debris came from the breakup of Japan's H2F40 rocket stage. And it did indeed, after the maneuver, passed within a few miles of the ISS, International Space Station, over Pitcairn Island in the South Pacific. And you can't really tell. Here's your island down here, and this is the near pass. It looks like a hit here, but you know, there's a timing difference, and so and there's also an altitude difference. This is a two-dimensional rendering, of course. It's the best I can do on PowerPoint, at least without some kind of video. And I don't have time for all that. But anyway, it turns out ISS has maneuvered 3 times in 2020 to dodge debris. So the word here is that the debris is getting more intense. It's getting to be a worse and worse problem. So we've got to pay a lot of attention to this. And this happened on the 29th, no, not on the 29th. Yeah, well, I have to double check that. But anyway, so now this is a photo of a launch of one of the Long March Heavies out of China's launch facility. Oh, they got a lot of stuff going on out here now, nearby, but you know, who knows, this is a telephoto lens. It's probably some distance. All right, NASA Administrator Jim Bridenstine told Congress on the 23rd, it is crucial for the U.S. to maintain a presence in the low Earth orbit after ISS decommissions so that China does not gain a strategic advantage. Now, low Earth orbit is also called LEO. LEO for low Earth orbit quite frequently. We're not talking about the line or the constellation here when we say LEO from space orbital perspective, okay? And geosynchronous is called GEO, just to let you know. All right, NASA actually requested $150 million in 2021 physical budget to help initiate commercialization of low Earth orbit, LEO. And this is a rendering of the Axiom space station. Credit to Axiom for this. And Axiom is a private company that has a lot of NASA former retired brass involved in it that are planning to launch a commercial space station. And what Bridenstine said was this. He said, we want to see a public-private partnership where NASA can deal with commercial space station providers so we can keep a permanent, uninterrupted human presence in low Earth orbit. And he went on to say, I don't think it is in the interest of the nation to build another ISS. I do not think it's in the interest of the nation to support. I do think it's in the interest of the nation to support commercial industry where NASA is a customer, So there may be other customers, maybe customers, or in this case, maybe the Space Force, or an industry. See, we don't know who all are going to be the customers in this case, but I want to point out, and there was something called a Great Space Debate, and you can find if you look on the Space Review, I believe, which I debated a couple of other guys, Mars Society Zubrin and Well, I'm getting brain rot right now. Anyway, three of us debated on the future of space and whether we should have large launch vehicles or small launch vehicles. And I was actually advocating the smaller launch vehicles in that debate, and against Zubrin, who was calling for the large launch vehicles, like the one I work on today. And what happened is that Rick Tomlinson was the other guy. So it's Bob Zubrin, Rick Tomlinson, and I on this panel. And this was back in the early 2000s, and this ISD, International Space Development Conference in Kansas, believe it or not, Wichita, Kansas. And we talked about, no, it was Wichita, Oklahoma City, I forget, it's many years ago. But anyway, in this talk, I laid out a new vision for the idea that NASA should be the customer for lower level launch support and the lower level Earth orbit enterprises, that NASA should, and this is what I expressed at the time, is my opinion, be at the forefront of an ever expanding bubble of exploration. And it should always be expanding forward, and NASA should be out there on the cutting edge of this bubble of exploration, and leaving it to industry to provide infrastructure to support NASA as it expands its bubble. So NASA could focus more on exploration and development of space, and let the industry actually cover the actual development and the shuttle services, the everyday getting things back and forth. Now it's quite interesting that later, Rick Tomlinson picked that up and kind of championed it as his own philosophy. But ladies and gentlemen, I first announced it there at that conference, and that's kind of what we're doing now. And I think that's really exciting. And what Brandon Stein was basically saying is the U.S. needs to maintain U.S. space primacy. And China plans this space station called Tiangong, which stands for Heavenly Palace, as a Chinese International Space Station to be operational in 2022, just 2 years from now. China is now partnering with 23 entities from 17 countries, including France, Germany, Japan, and Kenya. And according to Bridenstine, they're actually partnering or marketing this space station to all our current ISS partners. And Bridenstine added, he said, it would be a tragedy if after all of this time and all of this effort, we abandon low Earth orbit and cede that territory. Now, bear in mind that he was promoting things for on the science side, such as advanced pharmaceuticals, printing 3D organs, artificial retinas. There's a lot of basic science that can be done on space station. There's a lot that we really ought to be researching. Too bad we didn't do the centrifuge module, which would help us understand a lot about low Earth orbit, different gravity levels, like we're going to live long on Mars, what we can sustain in terms of traveling back and forth between other space facilities. Well, if you want to have like a partial gravity on a rotational space facility, what can you actually tolerate best? And these are things that could have been researched if we had put a module on the ISS for centrifugal research, and there wasn't one planned at one time, but it got deleted, and many of the budget cuts that we had on ISS, most unfortunately. Now, let's go forward. Bada bing, bada bang, bam. Aha. Well, now, this is what you wanted to know, right? Tom Cruise, movie, Cruise, ISS. Well, as a tourist, you know, Cruise isn't going to be part of the working crew, but tourist crew. It turns out that Tom Cruise and film director Doug Liman are to launch with pilot Lopez Algeria and a third space tourist, I don't know if he has to be part of the movie or not, to ISS for a movie to be filmed in space, a movie. And the launch is going to be in October 2021, just a year from now. Is this going to be an amazing year? And he will fly in a SpaceX Crew Dragon capsule. And the movie is backed by Universal, Universal Studios. And it's being backed to the tune of something right now like $200 million. Let's see if they can hold that budget. But that's going to be exciting. I don't even know what the name of the movie is. But I show here the Crew Dragon launching, And of course, there's Tom Cruise in a Paramount film featuring Space Station. But we got a lot of other news coming up. Look at all these happy chaps here. So a lot is going to be happening on ISS just this month alone. Northrop Grumman is to be launching their commercial cargo spacecraft, the Cygnus, which they actually acquired from Orbital Sciences. You can see this old Orbital ATK sticker here. Orbital and ATK merged, and Northrop Grumman bought them both out. But they're bringing an experimental new toilet to ISS and some supplies. And also, what's cool is on the 14th of October, the next crew mission is going to be launched from Kazakhstan on a Soyuz spacecraft. It's going to carry astronaut Kate Rubins and cosmonaut Sergei Rizovkov. All right, and Kud Zverchkov. Okay, again, what did I say about my rusty redneck Russian? As rusty as my shirt. But what's really cool is at the end of October, currently scheduled for the 31st of October, they're going to be joined by this NASA Crew 1 mission to be launched on the SpaceX Crew Dragon. And it's going to have astronauts Shannon Walker, Victor Glover, Michael Hopkins, and a Japanese astronaut from the Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency, Soji Nochi. Okay, yeah, my Japanese isn't much better than my Russian today. My hope is that the air holes, holes, not holes, that the air actually doesn't get worse, the leak. Let's hope that the ISS has many years ahead of it before it's actually decommissioned. Maybe some commercial entity will actually take it over. Some of us have been involved working on such proposals in the past. Again, and oh yeah, by the way, this launches on the largest launch vehicle that Northrop Grumman operates, which is this. It's their Antares launch vehicle. It actually has a Ukrainian first stage on it. And it launches from the Wallops Space Facility off the east coast of Virginia, Chicoteague Island. If you haven't been there, they have wild horses on Chicoteague Island. It's a really neat place, NASA Wallops. Check it out if you ever get a chance. It's out in the middle of nowhere, it seems. But what is really cool is that this commercial cargo and crew cargo and all these commercial space activities, see, the crew cargo and commercial crew have helped pay for a lot of other things. I've been a long-time member of the Space Frontier Foundation, as is Rick Thomason I mentioned earlier. Well, one of my good buddies who's been a very strong individual in the organization, an officer and very active, David Anderman. I'm an advocate in the Space Frontier Foundation, and back around 2000, I think, David Anderman asked us, and I've been before 2000, it's probably 1998 or 1999, David Anderman asked us in a meeting of the advocates, he says, what possible use could the ISS be? But back then, they didn't favor it because it was a big government program, and they were favoring, commercial activities. He said, what possible use could the ISS be? Just name one. And everybody sat around quietly. Nobody said a thing. And I put up my finger. I said, David, I have one answer, one good answer. And he looked at me incredulously. He said, well, what is that? And I said, by virtue of being there, it's going to be very expensive to keep the logistics going to the ISS. I worked ISS for quite a few years, by the way. And I was probably, I was working it even then in my day job. And so I knew, and I told him, I said, there's going to be a lot of logistics required to maintain that space station, just to keep it going. The astronauts need food, water, and oxygen. It's going to need reboost fuels, orbital replacement units. The boxes that run it are going to wear out. And there's just a lot of things that's got to be done to maintain the logistics, keeping that big thing up there once you get it there. I said, there's no way they're going to be able to afford it with the space shuttle. I said, they're going to have to come up with new vehicles, new launch paradigms to resupply and maintain the space station. Well, he was very incredulous about this. That's not going to happen. There's no way that NASA is going to allow anybody other than NASA get anywhere close to this space station within their, orbit. They have a certain sphere, approach sphere for ISS. And he said, they're not going to allow anybody to get inside that sphere. And interestingly enough, the commercial cargo program, the first version of it came out about a year or two later. And David Anderman was one of the first guys, along with a couple of my other friends, who actually proposed to launch commercial cargo and commercial crew to the ISS. Well, he is an enterprising individual. I got to give him credit for that. And he did have a good point, but my point was the one that was right. And guess what? The funding for all this stuff has helped a lot of other things develop, like this. And the funding that went into this Crew Dragon and the Crew Cargo has really advanced some companies, particularly SpaceX. And they've been able to turn a lot of that around and are now developing newer, very exciting ways to get into space, such as Starship. Starship offers to have an amazing space capacity. Starship could really revolutionize how we get into space, big time. They're talking large payloads, frequent flights, and less than 1% of the cost of what we're operating today to get into space, what NASA's spending and anybody else. It will be a huge game changer, provided it works, even at a fraction of the level that Elon Musk thinks it will work. Even if it's only good to get some fraction, it will still be a huge game changer. And even just the super heavy booster here is going to be a game changer, even if all this don't work. And if all this don't work, I'm sure he'll come up with something else. But it looks like it'll work. It's just, you know, there's a lot of technology being developed for that Starship upper stage, which we do call Starship. The whole thing is called Starship, but that's specifically, this is Starship, and this is the Super Heavy together. It's going to very much revolutionize space if these things get out there. Look at this. This is showing it going to the moon, but it's been developed actually to go to Mars. And NASA has awarded one of the contracts for limited supply to SpaceX. So it's going to further help develop this vehicle. So guess what? A new space age beckons. This is an exciting time we're coming into. I'm going to stop the share here. We're in very interesting territory, my friends. And what I'm going to show you real quick here is I've been quite involved in this, as I mentioned, and some of you may know, I developed hybrid rockets, launched from high altitude balloons. And those hybrid rockets were the daddy and granddaddy, the engines that are flying in Spaceship, the flew in Spaceship 1, that got the X Prize and flying Spaceship. We'll be flying Spaceship 2. And I have been, which is Virgin Galactic's going to offer tourism in. There were several other spinoffs from some of these things I were involved in, including the team at Dynetics. A lot of other people started out in my team and are today working on new lunar landers. So we've had a lot of spinoffs from that group. Also, I've been quite involved in space policy, like I was involved in the thing there with the Space Frontier Foundation. I've been cited by Buzz Aldrin in an article that he wrote. He's named me specifically with regards to property rights in space. You know, I'm only saying these things because, you know, somebody commented on one of my posts on one of the Facebook groups on space. Oh, why are you taking videos from newcomers like this guy? We should be listening to these other guys who are actually the real newcomers. No, I've been around. I've been in space for decades. I got decades of experience doing space day and night. And one of the things I wrote was this little article right here concerning constellations, cancellation, Congress, and camels. And the important thing about that article in this issue of Ad Astra magazine about 10 years ago from the National Space Society, you can see it was winter 2010, 10 years ago. And what I was talking about in here was when I was chairman of the policy committee of the National Space Society for 10 years, and I had led crews of people to the Hill to run the halls of Congress, to push for things which included commercial space. We also included in a lot of the NASA programs, including what I'm working on today. But at that time, specifically, there was a war going on. The sheets were being split and the sides were divided and were sniping at each other in the Congress and the Senate, but specifically about the outcome of space. Would it be all commercial or would it be all NASA, you know, like SLS? And at the time, Lori Garver had been involved in killing the Constellation program. She was trying to put all that to bed because she was promoting this commercial stuff. And commercial stuff has a lot of promise. But at that time, the reliability of SpaceX was in the drink. Today, it's really good. But at that time, it was somewhat far less than certain compared to where it is today. Now, so you had two camps. You had the side that was promoting that, which was the California delegation and her, and you had the side that was promoting the NASA side, and they weren't compromising. They were scorched earth, and in fact, Senator Shelby from Alabama, my state, was planning to just gut the whole thing if he didn't get his way. He wasn't going to let commercial space go. He was going to gut it. That was his plans, and he had a lot of support. You know, Congress and the Congress people from Texas and up in Virginia and Maryland were basically on his side, especially Maryland. And he had now the Florida was kind of middle. Florida was going to launch either way, and it turned out that you know, I had to go to Senator Nelson on this. I went straight into Senator Nelson's office, and see, Senator Nelson was in a quandary because he knew he had more jobs immediately from the NASA side, but he still got a piece of the action either way, and he did not want to go against his president. His president was preferring at the time, you know, this individual here. He was a Democrat, Senator Nelson was, and he did not want to go against his president. So I walked in there with a compromise proposal in my hand, and I handed it to his head space staffer, Paul Danfus. Paul Danfus grabbed that thing and looked at it and go, wow, I like this. I'm going to take this straight to Senator Nelson. I really, really, really like this. Senator Nelson was quoting from that the next day, and they chose the compromise plan that I initiated myself and pushed through our alliance we had for our lobby network, and it worked. We did retain NASA stuff, which maybe spent too much money according to some, but it's a pathway. But it also retained commercial space. It made these things possible. I don't think today you'd have that if we didn't have that compromise. So a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people will not agree with that. But I think that compromise enabled both sides to move forward. And today, SpaceX is really doing well. And if SpaceX can't get there with this thing, you know, we do have ISS doing things for a while. Not ISS, I'm help with that. Space Launch System, which is now Artemis. So we'll see how this plays out. I wish all these programs the very best. I wish everybody great success in their endeavors in space. And, you know, may the best player win. May the best capability win. May the country and humanity win in the end. Because in the end, it's going to take commercial activities to really settle and develop space the way we want to see it. And speaking of settling space, I'm going to do a video real soon in which I'm going to ask Elon Musk to turn this spaceship around and go to Venus. I'm going to say, we're going to colonize Venus. There's some exciting prospects to that end. So this is why you need to subscribe to my channel and bang that notification bell so you'll see all these things coming. Oh yeah, and by the way, I'll have some links below where you can support my channel by supporting my sister channel, Green Greg's. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching.